At 11 o'clock on the last night of December, I was walking home through falling snow with a birthday cake in my hands. I had just gotten back from an out-of-state work trip. My fingers were numb. My shoes were wet. I was walking faster than I should have because I kept thinking the same stupid thing. If I hurry, I can still be the last person to wish Evelyn a happy birthday before midnight. Evelyn Shaw had been my girlfriend for 10 years. We were supposed to get married. A few days later, we were scheduled to finish fitting our wedding clothes. I had followed her from chess tournament to chess tournament since we were 18. I had learned her schedules, her food preferences, how to read lips because of her hearing problems, how to pack the things she always forgot, how to tell when she was exhausted before she admitted it. I had spent 10 years convincing myself that loving somebody patiently enough would eventually teach them how to love me back. Then I turned into the narrow alley behind our apartment building and saw her standing beneath a street lamp with Ryan Cole. Ryan was her childhood friend, the person she had dropped everything for more times than I could count. They were arguing. Even from a distance, I could tell. Ryan's body was tense. His hands kept moving. His voice carried through the snow, sharp enough that I caught fragments of it. None of them were kind. I couldn't make out every word, but I knew an insult when I heard one. Evelyn's face slowly went white. My first instinct was still the same one I'd had for 10 years. Protect her. I stepped forward, then stopped, because Evelyn did something I had never seen her do for me. This woman was famous on the competitive chess circuit for being impossible to intimidate. Reporters called her the Ice Queen. Opponents complained that she could sit through 5 hours of pressure without changing expression. Even with me, she rarely lowered her head. She hated apologizing. She hated explaining herself. If we argued, she would rather freeze our entire apartment into silence for a day than say, "I'm sorry." But that night, under the streetlight, Evelyn lowered her head in front of Ryan. She switched off one of her hearing aids. Then she carefully reached out and held the edge of his sleeve. Her lips moved. I was too far away to hear her. I didn't need to. I had learned lip reading years ago because of her. I watched her mouth form the words. "Please stop." Then, "You're really hurting me." Not angry, not cold, begging, quietly, carefully, as if she was afraid he might leave if she stood up for herself. My foot, which had already started toward them, moved backward. Then another step. Then I turned around. I went home alone. I took a shower, changed clothes and sat cross-legged on the rug in our living room. The cake had partially collapsed during the trip. The frosting had stuck to the lid. I opened the box anyway, put one candle in the center, lit it. The apartment was completely silent. I looked at the flame and said to myself, "Happy New Year, Daniel." Midnight passed without Evelyn. I cut myself a piece. The texture was awful, too soft in some places, weirdly sticky in others. I ate it anyway. Then I opened the refrigerator and found beer. One can became two. Two became several. I sat by the window, watching snow collect on the city outside and drank until everything became pleasantly blurry around the edges. Evelyn finally came home near dawn. The lock turned. The door opened. I heard her shoes. Then silence. I looked over. She was staring at the empty cans around me. Her eyebrows pulled together. Her face showed unmistakable disgust. "Why did you drink?" I lifted the half-empty can in my hand. She wrinkled her nose. "Alcohol smells terrible." I stood, not gracefully. I took one step toward her. She took one step backward. I took another. She backed away again. Eventually she turned and left the room entirely, heading toward the other bedroom to wash up and sleep. I tried to follow. My balance disappeared. I hit the floor. Beer poured across the rug. For a few seconds, I just lay there. Then I laughed. A tired, drunk little laugh into the carpet. If Ryan had been the one falling, Evelyn would have caught him. I knew that with complete certainty. She would have run across the room. She would have put his arm around her shoulders. She would have asked whether he was hurt. She would have cleaned him up. She would probably have stayed awake half the night, making sure he was okay. But I wasn't Ryan. That seemed to be the central problem of my life. I woke around noon with a headache. On the dining table was breakfast, toast, eggs, a glass of milk. Everything had been sitting there 4 hours. The toast was dry. The eggs smelled slightly off. The milk was so cold it made my stomach turn. I picked up the plate, intending to dump it, then stopped. My grandmother had raised me to believe wasting food was practically a moral crime. So I sat down, forced myself to eat, and thought, this is probably the last breakfast Evelyn will ever make for me. Breakfast used to mean something between us. Evelyn had never been good at emotional conversations. When we first started dating, I was stubborn too. If she refused to apologize after a fight, I refused to speak. We could turn a 1,000-square-foot apartment into an Arctic research station, but Evelyn always broke first. The morning after an argument, she would get up before me and make breakfast. Toast, eggs, milk, nothing complicated. She would never say, "I'm sorry." She would just put the plate down. That was her surrender flag. For years, I treasured it. I thought those breakfasts belonged to me. A private little privilege, something she only did because I was her boyfriend. Then 6 months earlier, Ryan temporarily moved into our apartment. Every morning after that, Evelyn got up early, not 10 minutes early, hours. She would stay in the kitchen making different things. Because she was worried Ryan might not like what she cooked. Scrambled eggs, poached eggs, boiled eggs, omelets, soup, pancakes, coffee made exactly the way he wanted, fruit cut into pieces. She learned which brand of yogurt he liked, which jam, which bread. Ryan didn't need to argue with her first. He didn't need to earn an apology. He just had to sit at the table. Evelyn would put more effort into his breakfast on a random Wednesday than she put into mine after breaking my heart. At the time, I explained it away. They grew up together. He was practically her younger brother. She was taking care of an old friend. Nothing strange, nothing romantic, nothing I should be insecure about. I'd become very talented at lying to myself. That afternoon, Evelyn came back from the chess club because we had an appointment. Wedding clothes. We had reserved them months earlier. The boutique had imported my suit specifically for the fitting. On the drive there, Evelyn's phone lit up again and again. I glanced at the screen once. Ryan. Another message. Ryan again. Then another. Evelyn didn't answer. For some reason, that gave me hope. Pathetic, right? My relationship had reached the point where I felt encouraged. Because my fiancé ignored another man for 20 minutes. At the boutique, an employee greeted us warmly. The suit arrived this morning. Evelyn actually smiled. She looked at me. "You're going to look really good in this." My heart moved. Just a little. "Think so?" She nodded. "Definitely." I followed the employee into the fitting room. For the first time in days, I felt excited. I adjusted the jacket. The employee fixed the shoulders. I looked at myself in the mirror. Not bad. More importantly, I wanted to see Evelyn's face when she saw me. I wanted one normal thing. One. I stepped outside. The sofa was empty. I looked around. No Evelyn. The employee looked confused too. Wasn't Miss Shaw going to try on her dress? I took out my phone. One message. ***, sorry. Something came up at the club. I had to leave. ***. That was it. I stood there in the suit we were supposed to choose for our wedding, without the bride. The young employee looked so uncomfortable I almost felt sorry for her. She opened her mouth, closed it, finally said, "Would you like to reschedule?" I looked at the photography area. "Do you take wedding portraits here?" "Yes, but I want pictures." She hesitated. "What about Miss Shaw?" "I'll take them alone." Her face went blank. Then professional. Of course. So I took my wedding photos alone. There is probably no better symbol for my relationship with Evelyn. That evening, I left carrying the suit box. On the sidewalk, a food cart was selling roasted sweet potatoes. Steam drifted into the cold air. I bought one. It was perfectly roasted, soft enough that syrup had started leaking through the skin. I broke it open. The heat warmed my fingers. I took a bite. For a few minutes, I was just a guy walking home eating something good. Then somebody called my name. Daniel. I looked up. Ryan. He was standing outside a restaurant. I almost laughed. Of course. What a coincidence. Before I finished speaking, the restaurant door flew open. Evelyn hurried outside. She was carrying a white coat. Ryan's coat. The second she reached him, she spread it open and draped it over his shoulders. Her face was full of worrying. "Why did you come outside without this?" Ryan glanced at me. I watched Evelyn adjust the collar. Only after she finished did she notice the strange silence. She looked up, saw me. Her hands stopped. Something like guilt passed across her face. She immediately took half a step away from Ryan. Our eyes met. Her lips moved. "Daniel, I..." Nothing followed. There's an old saying about catching people together. You don't usually need a confession when the scene explains itself. Ryan looked at me with something close to challenge. So I smiled. Big, polite, keep going. Evelyn frowned. "I'm heading home." I walked past. She caught my wrist. Her hand was cold. "Daniel." I stopped. Her voice sounded exhausted. "I can explain." I pulled my wrist free. I didn't want an explanation anymore. On the way home, I came across an elderly man, struggling to push a scrap cart up a bridge. I put down the soup box and helped him. Once we reached the top, I tossed the empty beer cans I had been carrying into his cart. Then I looked at the wedding soup box and tossed that in too. The man stared. "You sure?" "Very." He thanked me repeatedly. Before leaving, I asked for his number. "I've got more things at home." "How much?" I thought about our apartment. 10 years of my life packed into drawers, shelves and closets. A lot. That night, I started sorting everything. Evelyn and I had lived together 4 years. Our belongings had blended into each other. There were tiny things. A grasshopper woven from dried grass that we bought during one of her tournament trips. Old tickets. Cheap souvenirs. Photos. Then there were larger things. Bookshelves filled with both our books. Furniture. Kitchen equipment. Boxes I hadn't opened in years. I stood in the middle of the living room and felt overwhelmed. My phone rang. "Evelyn." I answered. The background was loud. Announcements. Rolling luggage. Airport. "Daniel." "What?" "Ryan's in a really bad mood." I closed my eyes. "He wants to go overseas for a while." I said nothing. "I'm worried about him, so I'm going with him." There it was. Then, as casually as if she were telling me to buy milk, "You'll be home alone. Remember to eat properly." My first instinct was to ask about tomorrow. She had a tournament, an important one. My mouth actually opened. Then I stopped. Evelyn had always told me chess was her principle. Nothing interrupted a tournament. Nothing. Years earlier, I was in a car accident during one of her matches. My head was bleeding badly enough that strangers called an ambulance. I didn't ask her to leave the game. I told myself she was a professional. I told myself love meant supporting her principles. She could finish. I would survive. Now Ryan felt sad, and she was about to board an international flight. Suddenly tournaments could be abandoned. Suddenly principles had exceptions. I had spent years believing chess came before me, because chess came before everything. The truth was simpler. I came after Ryan. I almost asked her anyway. Then the call ended. She had hung up before I could speak. The busy signal buzzed in my ear. My temple started throbbing. I sat down on the floor surrounded by pieces of our life. What an idiot. That was the word that kept coming back. Idiot. People can have hundreds of tournaments in their lifetime. A partner. Usually one. If you love them. The scrap dealer arrived early the next morning. I kept what I could fit in one suitcase. Everything else that belonged to me, I sold. He weighed some things, estimated others, counted out the money. By the end, I had a thick stack of crumpled bills worth a little over $700. Not much for 10 years. Then again, maybe that was appropriate. I took a cab to the train station, bought a ticket. After transportation, I had a little over $600 left. At a department store, I saw a cashmere scarf, ridiculously expensive, soft, warm, the kind of thing I never bought because Evelyn considered spending on clothes wasteful unless there was a reason. I bought it. I paid mostly with the wrinkled bills from the scrap dealer. The cashier stared at the pile, then at me. She counted it slowly. I put the scarf around my neck while she worked. The second the fabric touched my skin, I understood why expensive things were expensive. I smiled. The cashier finished counting. "Thank you. We hope to see you again." I shook my head. "Probably not." She blinked. I tightened the scarf. "I don't think I'll ever come back to this city." The train ride home took almost a full day and night. My hometown was a small mountain town surrounded by hills. Nothing glamorous. No celebrity restaurants. No major chess clubs. No luxury malls. Just narrow streets, old neighborhoods, mountains, and people who knew everybody's grandparents. The second I got off the train, I dropped my suitcase beside a restaurant and ordered the spiciest stew on the menu. Evelyn had grown up near the coast. She hated strong flavors, didn't eat spicy food. For 10 years, I adjusted. Mild soup, mild sauces, no chilies, no pepper. Every restaurant became a negotiation around her taste. The first spoonful almost burned my tongue off. I coughed. The owner laughed. "Too spicy." I wiped my eyes. "No." I took another bite. "This is perfect." I ate until I was painfully full. Then I dragged my suitcase toward the outskirts of town. My parents divorced when I was small. At first, I lived with my mother. Then she remarried. I went to my father. He eventually decided having a kid around was inconvenient and sent me to my grandparents in the countryside. I should probably have grown up bitter about that. Instead, living with my grandparents became the happiest part of my childhood. They adored me. I adored them. Unfortunately, they both died early. The little house they left behind had been empty 4 years. I reached it after dark. Dust everywhere. Cobwebs. Furniture covered in cloth. I cleaned only enough to create a path to the bedroom. Then I collapsed onto the bed. The next morning, something woke me. Morrow. I opened one eye. A tabby cat was sitting on the windowsill, outside, looking down at me like I had broken into its property. I stared at it. It stared at me. We remained locked in this deeply serious confrontation for approximately 3 minutes. Finally I rubbed my face. Fine. The cat blinked. You win. That afternoon, I was sweeping when the front door opened. An elderly woman entered using a cane. At first, she stared. Then her cloudy eyes widened. Danny. The broom almost fell out of my hand. Mrs. Harper, our old neighbor. She dropped the cane. Actually dropped it. Then came straight toward me and wrapped both arms around me. My boy. Her coat smelled like sunlight and laundry detergent. My grandmother used to smell like that. My nose burned instantly. I hugged her back. You've suffered. She pulled away and held my wrist between both hands. You're thinner. I'm older. Your face is sharper. I grew up. She studied me again, then nodded. You did. Mrs. Harper refused to leave. She took my broom and started helping. I told her not to. She ignored me. Old women who watched you grow up do not recognize adult authority. While we cleaned, she updated me on the village. This family had moved away. That old man had died. Someone's children had taken them to the city. Another house had been empty 4 years. Eventually Mrs. Harper stopped sweeping. She sat on the doorstep and looked toward the mountains. The village that had once been full of shouting children, barking dogs, and neighbors walking in and out of one another's homes had become quiet, sparse, lonely. For a moment, neither of us spoke. 5 days after I came home, Evelyn called. I almost didn't answer. I did. Daniel, where are you? She sounded irritated. At home. What home? My hometown. There was a pause. You went back for memorial rites? No. Then why? To live. What? Her voice sharpened. How can you just decide to move without telling me? I leaned against the wall. My career is entering an important stage, she continued. I'm transferring clubs. There's a lot to prepare. And Ryan is still in the city. I cut her off. What does me living here have to do with either of you? Silence. Then her voice turned cold. What do you mean by that? Oh, I smiled. I forgot to tell you. Another pause. Evelyn, we broke up. I hung up. That afternoon, the weather was beautiful. Mrs. Harper and I dragged wicker chairs outside to sun ourselves. She had her old cat curled beside her. She looked at me, then looked again. Your eyes are red. Break up. She settled deeper into the chair. Oh, I waited. That's it. What? I thought something serious happened. I laughed. Mrs. Harper closed her eyes. You're sad because you haven't dated enough women. I turned toward her. Excuse me. If you dated 8 or 10 women, breaking up would feel like missing lunch. I burst out laughing. She smiled smugly. See, I'm not dating 10 women, Mrs. Harper. Coward. That night, somebody knocked on my door. I got out of bed, opened it. Evelyn stood outside. The cold had turned her normally pale skin almost colorless. Her lips were white. A thin layer of frost clung to her dark coat. The wind moved through the yard. She shivered. My body reacted before my brain. 10 years of habit. I reached for her. Come inside. Evelyn avoided my hand. She stayed on the threshold. My arm slowly dropped. Then she looked at me and said, Are you done? 4 words. That was all. Are you done? As if I had moved across the country to throw a tantrum. As if I had sold my belongings, abandoned our wedding plans and rebuilt my life because I wanted attention. I laughed, not because it was funny, because something about the situation was suddenly absurd. Evelyn frowned. I said, maybe breaking up over the phone wasn't formal enough for you. Her expression changed. So let's do it properly. I stood straight. Evelyn, sure. The wind moved between us. I'm not joking. I looked directly at her. We're done. For the first time, confusion appeared in those beautiful cold eyes. Why? That question nearly broke me. Why? I stared. Evelyn, we were together 10 years. She said nothing. I know your childhood messed you up. That had always been my explanation for her. Evelyn was emotionally closed off. She hated vulnerability. She struggled to explain affection. I knew that, so I accommodated it. 4 years. I knew you didn't know how to love people normally. I continued. So I tolerated things. I waited. I made excuses. Every once in a while, you treated me well and I felt like I'd won some incredible prize. My voice shook. I thought all the years I spent loving you were finally being rewarded. She lowered her eyes. But what happened when Ryan came back? I asked. All your patience went to him. All your softness. You planned his meals. You took care of every stupid detail of his life. You let him live in our home. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. You're too proud to socialize for your own sake. But when his work needed connections, you learned how to drink with people you hated. Evelyn's face went white. He insulted you. I pointed toward the road. He talked to you like garbage, and you stood there taking it. You lowered your head. You begged him. My throat tightened. You like him that much? Evelyn opened her mouth. Then what am I? Nothing. What were our 10 years? Her expression cracked. I don't like him. I didn't want another word. I shut the door. The next morning, Mrs. Harper arrived carrying a huge plate of homemade cakes. I was still half asleep. She sat beside me in the sun. We ate. Then she said casually, "There was a woman standing outside your house this morning." I stopped chewing. Pretty. I sighed. Very white skin. Another bite. Looked like a movie star. I nodded. Ex-girlfriend. Yes. Mrs. Harper whistled. Very pretty. Extremely. No wonder you suffered 10 years. I nearly choked. She laughed. Then, without warning, she started telling me about her husband. My whole life, I only walked one step toward that man. I looked over. He walked the other 99. She smiled toward the mountains. I was lucky. I looked at my food. I walked 99 toward Evelyn. Mrs. Harper said nothing. She never walked one toward me. When I met Evelyn, I was 18. First year of college. All that ridiculous energy people have when they still believe effort can solve anything. I spent it on her. Evelyn played tournaments all over the country, then internationally. I followed whenever I could. I wasn't naturally organized. I could barely take care of myself. I forgot meals, lost charges, missed trains, but somehow I became excellent at taking care of Evelyn. Medication, hearing aid batteries, tournament schedules, water, food, hotel reservations. Every person at her chess club knew I loved her. Sometimes I thought Evelyn was the only person who didn't. After I moved home, life became strangely simple. Mrs. Harper, cats, dogs, sunlight, food, sleep. For the first time in years, nobody's tournament schedule controlled my day. Nobody called because Ryan had a problem. Nobody needed me to rearrange my life. My editor was less impressed with this spiritual transformation. Rachel started messaging me constantly. Asterisk asterisk, are you alive? Asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk Daniel. Asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk Daniel. Asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk. Did you secretly change careers? Asterisk asterisk. Then calls. Finally I answered. What? You remember you're an illustrator? Vaguely. Do you plan to illustrate anything? I apologized until she stopped yelling. Then I took my easel outside. When I arrived home, winter had been deep and grey. Spring came slowly. Green shoots appeared along the fields. The wind moved through them in little waves. That tabby cat from my window became a mother. She had 3 kittens. One afternoon, I watched all 4 of them rolling around on the edge of a muddy field. The kittens were filthy. Completely delighted. I painted them. That became the first piece in a new series. For the first time in years, I wasn't drawing around Evelyn's schedule. I worked when the light was good, stopped when I was tired, ate when I was hungry. Over the next week, I completed several pieces. On the final evening, I worked until sunset. I was packing my brushes when I saw someone walking toward me from the far end of the field. A thin dark figure against a red sky. Evelyn. 3 months. I hadn't seen her in 3 months. She looked terrible. Thinner. Too thin. Her face was pale enough to look sick. Dark circles under her eyes. If I hadn't known she won an international tournament the previous day, I would have assumed she had escaped from a hospital. Then she saw me. Her exhausted eyes suddenly lit. Daniel. She hurried toward me. Her arms started to lift. For 1 second, I thought she was going to hug me. I stepped back fast and held up one hand. Don't. She stopped. Hurt flashed across her face. Then she forced a smile. I know you care about what happened with Ryan. I said nothing. I handled it. My fingers tightened around the easel. From now on, he won't be part of our lives. She continued quickly. If you like living here, I can live here too. I stared. I talked to the club. She swallowed. If you think I'm too busy. Her voice tightened. I can retire. That finally made me speak. Evelyn. She looked at me. We broke up. Her gaze dropped, then rose again. Her eyes were red, wet. I know. Her voice almost broke. I know we broke up. Then she said the words I never imagined hearing from her. I'm trying to get you back. For a second, I felt like the villain. That was how careful she looked, how vulnerable, like a dog terrified its owner was about to leave it on the side of the road. Then I remembered 10 years. No, her face changed. Daniel, are you insane? She froze. I spent 10 years with you. My voice rose. You ignored me, took me for granted, dropped me whenever something else mattered more. You treated everything I gave you like it was automatic. I pointed at her. And now that I'm done playing this game, suddenly you want me back. She swallowed. With what? Promises, retiring, moving here, the gifts you bought me that didn't even suit me because you don't know what I like. She flinched. You can barely take care of yourself. I laughed bitterly. And now I'm supposed to believe you know how to take care of a relationship. Her head lowered. For a long moment, nothing moved except the grass. Then, I love you. I stopped breathing. Those words, I'd waited years for them. The first 3 years, then another 3, then year after year after year. I had imagined every possible version. Evelyn saying it after a tournament, in bed, at dinner, during an argument, on my birthday, during a proposal. I'd waited so long that eventually I stopped expecting it, and now she said it after I left. I laughed once. Do you? She looked up. Do you even know what loving someone means? What's my favorite food? Silence. Who's my favorite painter? Her lips parted. What competition did I win last year? Nothing. What was it called? She looked down. Do you even know how important it was? Her eyes filled. You know none of it. My chest hurt. But I know you. I stepped closer. I know you love red wine braised beef. I know which grandmother you admired when you were 19. I know every tournament you entered. Every ranking. Every championship. I know how hard the final game was yesterday. I laughed, but it came out broken. I know everything about you. My voice failed. For 3 months I thought I was recovering. Apparently some wounds were just waiting for the correct sentence to reopen. The mother cat appeared near my feet. Then all 3 kittens. They rubbed against my ankles, meowing. Evelyn's hand lifted, hovered between us. Her fingers curled like she wanted to take mine. She didn't dare. Eventually I breathed out. Enough. She started crying silently. I'm tired, Evelyn. I looked at her. Really tired. This relationship took 10 years from me. I don't have anything left to give it. After that, she disappeared. For 6 months, she didn't come back. No late night knocks. No surprise visits. No repeated calls. Nothing. Without her constantly reopening the wound, I finished my childhood illustration series. Rachel loved it. More than loved it. She submitted it to one of the most prestigious national illustration competitions without asking my permission first. I called her furious. You submitted what? You're welcome. What if I didn't want to enter? Then lose. You can't. Daniel, you won 2nd place. I stopped. What? She laughed. You won. The organizers invited me to join a nationwide traveling exhibition. I agreed. Then Rachel told me the first city. The city I had left. For the first time in more than half a year, I went back. The exhibition was crowded. People moved slowly between paintings. I was talking with another artist when I noticed Evelyn. She was standing alone in front of one of my paintings, not moving. The figure in that painting was a lonely child sitting near a mountain road. From behind, Evelyn's silhouette almost seemed to merge with it. I started to leave. She turned, as if she felt me there. She wore a black mask. Only her eyes showed. They looked tired. Daniel. I stopped. She looked back at the painting. The person in that picture is me. No. She turned. It isn't. I kept my voice calm. This series is about my childhood. My childhood didn't include you. She stood there, then said quietly, but your life did. I didn't understand how someone as proud as Evelyn could keep holding on to humiliation like this. But we were in public. I wasn't going to fight. I stepped backward. My life after this won't include you. Her eyes trembled. Please stop coming to find me. I left. That evening, I went out for drinks with another artist from the exhibition. We were leaving when my phone rang. Ryan. I almost rejected it. Curiosity one. What? His voice was tense. Evelyn had a gastric hemorrhage. I stopped walking. She's in the hospital. I said nothing. Can you come? No. He spoke quickly. Wait. I almost hung up. You always wanted to know why she treated me like that, right? I frowned. Come here. His breathing shook. I'll tell you. I thought he sounded insane. I hung up. My new friend and I went back to the hotel the organizers had arranged. Around midnight, he suddenly doubled over. Food poisoning. He started vomiting. Badly. I put on my coat and took him to the nearest hospital. While he was receiving 4 fluids, I sat beside him scrolling through my phone. Then somebody appeared in the hallway. Ryan. His expression changed the second he saw me. You came. I looked at my friend, then at Ryan. No, he ignored the obvious evidence. He actually smiled bitterly. I knew you would. Before I could stop him, he grabbed my wrist. Come with me, Ryan. He pulled me down the hall. We stopped outside a room. Through the glass, I saw Evelyn. Blue and white hospital gown. Pale face. Full line. One hand lying outside the blanket. Thinner than I remembered. For a second, something old moved inside me. Ryan watched my face. When she was unconscious, she kept saying your name. I looked at him. She loves you. I laughed bitterly. Sure. Ryan's expression changed. You know the burn scar on her hand. I nodded. When Evelyn was 10, her house caught fire. My smile disappeared. She got trapped. He looked through the glass. My father happened to be visiting. He went into the house. He got her out. A pause. He didn't get out. I stared at him. After that, Evelyn believed she owed my family a life. The hallway suddenly felt very quiet. Ryan continued. She doesn't know how to take care of herself. You know that. I did. But she became very good at taking care of me. He smiled painfully. You thought that was love. I said nothing. I knew it wasn't. His eyes turned red. Because I saw what she looked like when she actually loved somebody. He looked at me. You. My chest tightened. The night she confessed to you. Ryan swallowed. She came to my house first. She knelt in front of my mother. I stared. 3 times. She told my mother I was only a younger brother to her. He laughed at himself. I lost it. I made everything difficult. I forced her to choose. You or me. He looked down. I thought I won. I remembered airports, breakfasts, jackets, missed fittings. Ryan continued. Then you said one sentence. He looked at me. We're done. My jaw tightened. And suddenly she stopped everything. She transferred everything she had set aside for my family. Property, savings, everything. She told me the debt was paid. That from that day forward, she and I owed each other nothing. His voice broke. For the 6 months you were gone, she barely lived. She moved around like a ghost. Worked, played matches, came home, nothing else. She really loves you. I waited until he finished. Then I said, so. Ryan looked stunned. So, yes. My voice went cold. So what? She had a reason. She had guilt. She had trauma. She owed your family. I nodded. And that means I have to forgive 10 years. He opened his mouth. She could have told me. I continued. That's the part neither of you seems to understand. She could have told me everything. Your father, the fire, the debt, all of it. I would have helped her repay your family. I would have stood beside her. My throat tightened, but she didn't. Ryan lowered his eyes. She abandoned me again and again. She ran to you. She let me spend night after night wondering whether something was wrong with me, whether I wasn't attractive enough, good enough, important enough. I pointed toward Evelyn's room. She may have had reasons. That does not erase what those reasons did to me. 4 years I lived in anxiety, confusion, self-doubt. Every time Evelyn chose Ryan, a little piece of me learned that I was replaceable. No explanation could go backward and remove that. I looked through the glass one last time. Evelyn slept under the hospital lights. Then I turned away. The damage can't be undone. Ryan said nothing. Neither can the breakup. I walked back to my friend, and that was the last time I saw Evelyn for a long while. A year later, I moved overseas for an art residency. I traveled, painted, illustrated, made friends who had never met Evelyn Shaw and therefore didn't look at me with pity when I talked about my past. I even learned guitar. Badly. But I learned. Eventually, somebody new entered my life. And for the first time, affection didn't feel like a tournament I needed to win. The first winter after Daniel moved overseas, I understood what losing someone actually meant. My name is Evelyn Shaw. I used to think Daniel would always come back. That sounds horrible now. Maybe it was horrible then too. But for 10 years, that was our pattern. I walked away. Daniel waited. I shut down. Daniel came closer. I forgot something. Daniel remembered for both of us. No matter how cold I became, there was always a scarf waiting, food waiting, a message, a light on at home. Then one day, there wasn't. The closer New Year got, the more I missed him. So I bought a plane ticket. I flew to the country where he was living. It took me days to find his address. When I finally did, I didn't knock. I knew he didn't want me there. So I stood behind a large tree across from his apartment building and watched. Every morning, Daniel left carrying his easel. Sometimes he went alone. Usually he went with new friends. His face looked different, lighter. He smiled constantly. I hadn't realized how rarely he smiled near me until I watched him smile around people who didn't hurt him. That smile used to belong to me. At least I thought it did. Maybe I had never deserved it. He had learned guitar. Every evening, he sat near the large apartment window and played for a while. He wasn't very good. That made me miss him more. Daniel had always looked adorable when he was bad at something. On New Year's Eve, he invited several friends from home. They cooked, talked, laughed. There was a woman there. She paid special attention to him. She sat close, passed him food, leaned over when he played guitar. Something inside my chest twisted so painfully I had to look away. I changed my phone number months earlier. Daniel didn't know the new one. That was the only reason I dared call. The phone rang. Then, hello. I almost hung up. Instead, I whispered, "Happy New Year." Silence. He recognized me. I knew he did. After a few seconds, Daniel said, "Thank you." His voice was calm, polite. "If there's nothing important, I'm going to hang up." Panic hit me. "Daniel." He stopped. "I want to talk to you." He sighed, not angrily. That somehow hurt more. Then his voice became gentle and final. "Evelyn." I closed my eyes. "I have a girlfriend now." Pain went straight through my chest. For a second, even breathing felt difficult. Then the call ended. I stood in the snow staring at my phone while the long disconnected tone played. Behind the apartment window, Daniel's friends were laughing. The woman beside him said something. He smiled. I pressed the phone against my chest. "Daniel." My voice broke. "The winter feels colder this year." There was nobody beside me to take off his scarf and wrap it around my neck. Nobody looking at me with bright eyes. Nobody answering the way Daniel once did whenever I complained about the cold. Really? Then he would smile. "But as long as I'm with you, I feel warm." I had 10 years to learn how precious that was. I only understood after there was no one left to say it. This story is entirely fictional and created for entertainment purposes. All characters, relationships, athletic careers, workplaces, medical circumstances, family histories, international travel, artistic events, and dramatic developments are invented for storytelling.